The War with Grandpa. Read aloud by Mrs. Carter. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. A Slippery Customer. What I did was steal Grandpa's slippers. After dinner, on my way upstairs, I just stopped by my old room and took Grandpa's slippers from the bottom of the closet. I left a little note, too. This one was written in magic marker on a sheet of notepaper. It said, "I will not be defeated, but you will, the secret warrior." I thought of doing some other tricky things to Grandpa, like putting a frog in his bed or a gerbil. But then I thought maybe the surprise would really get him scared and maybe even give him a heart attack. That could happen to people, especially old people. They get a nasty shock and bingo, heart attack city. I was at war with Grandpa, but I didn't want to kill him. I went to bed thinking about all that, but before I fell asleep, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Real slow and limpy footsteps. Grandpa came in and snapped the overhead light on. "Okay," he said gruffly. "Where are my slippers?" "What slippers?" I said. "The ones you stole, Petey boy." Before I could answer, he went over to my closet and opened it. There were his slippers in plain sight, right where yours truly was dumb enough to leave them. My, what have we here?" Grandpa said. "Looks like somebody's slippers." He picked them up and looked at me, shaking his head a little like he was disappointed. "Are we all finished with sneaky tricks now?" he asked. I didn't answer. "You think you're one slippery customer, don't you?" he said. "Lots of tricks." "Not tricks," I said. "Oh no? What would you call stealing my slippers then?" "Guerrilla warfare." Grandpa looked at me, then began to laugh. That really annoyed me. Here I was in the middle of a war, and my enemy was laughing at me. "I don't think it's so funny," I said. "Funnier than you think," Grandpa said. "Guerrilla warfare? Ha! Monkey shines would be more like it." "You've got your slippers," I said. "You can go now." "Petey, we've got to get this settled between us. Tomorrow, maybe. You go to sleep now, okay? But tomorrow we talk." He leaned down over my bed and gave me a dry kiss on my forehead. "Good night," he said. "Good night," I said back to him. I wanted to say more, like I was sorry, but I didn't. A war is a war, I thought. It does not end until one party surrenders. "Guerrilla warfare," he said on the way out of the room. When he closed the door, he was chuckling to himself. It was then I began to think that I would probably lose the war. Grandpa was so nice. He would just ignore everything I did. And in the end, he would stay in my room and I'd be stuck up here forever. Some war this is, I thought. My enemy just kissed me goodnight. Chapter 21. Strategy and Supplies. "That's very revealing, Steve was saying as we walked into the store. "He actually kissed you." "Yes," I said. "It's psychological warfare," Steve said, "and very clever of him." "He's messing with your mind," Billy said. We were on our way to Dealtown, the store where we always bought school supplies. Steve needed more pens, index cards, and a notebook. I never knew a kid who used up so many school supplies as Steve did, or who loved school as much as he did. It was a little unnatural, if you ask me. I mean, school is okay, and besides, you have to go. But I think that a few more holidays during the year wouldn't hurt anything. Steve thinks that a day without school is a rotten day. He's always reading books and taking notes on index cards. Whenever he sees a new word, he looks it up in the dictionary, writes it on an index card, and memorizes it. "Grandpa is trying to out-nice you," Steve said. "But he is nice," I said. "There you are," Steve said. "He's got you believing it already." "Wait a minute," I said. "Something's wrong here." "Yeah, you are," Billy said. "It's very simple," said Steve, as we entered the food store. "You start a war, Grandpa doesn't want to fight, so he just tries to be so darn nice to you that you'll forget the whole thing and call off the war. Isn't that it?" "No," I said. "He's just a good, sweet man who loves me a lot, so he forgave my stealing his slippers and let me know by kissing me." "That wasn't too bright, leaving his slippers in your closet," Billy said. "You should have thrown them in the trash." "I'd never do that," I said. "Or burned them," Billy said. "You can't burn slippers," I said. "Positively Machiavellian," Steve said. He picked up a shopping basket. "What's what you say?" Billy asked. "Machiavelli. He was an old Italian prince," Steve said. "He figured out all the moves you can make on an enemy a long time ago. I'll bet your grandpa knows all about him. Steve put a spiral-bound notebook and a pack of index cards into the basket. He's not that way, I protested. Grandpa is just a great guy, that's all. Steve gave me one of those all-knowing looks of his, as if he were talking to a bird brain. Never underestimate your enemy, he said. I have to say this about my friend Steve. Sometimes for a guy who has a great brain and all, he can be very dumb. So what are you going to do next? Billy asked. Probably nothing, Steve said. You're both wrong, I said. I'll do something. I still want my room back. Can you put a lock on the door so he can't get in? Billy wanted to know. No, I said. Steve took a 10-pack of ballpoint pens and put it into his basket. I'll tell you what I think, he said. I think the war is over, and you've lost.